Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from Mercedes-Benz at Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Football Friday. That means we're brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos and fired up that you're hanging out with us. Hope that work week is in the rearview mirror. If it's not, we'll get you to the finish line here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Got our Friday staples coming at you, as is tradition. Preston Guy in 15 minutes. Preston's going to come to us from Disney World, I believe. I saw he's got a cocktail already. He's sending out tweets. We'll see how that goes. But we're going to call him in 15 minutes, and we'll see if he answers or not. But we'll talk some football with Preston Guy of TigerBait.com. We'll get you ready for the NFL slate on Sunday. That, of course, includes Saints and Chargers. My SEC picks against the number. Quite simply put, I am white hot. I cannot be stopped. It's a freight train leaving the station. If you want to get filthy rich, you will follow every pick that I have at 2 o'clock. That's just the way it goes. Or fade them, whatever you want to do. But we're going to give them to you at 2 o'clock. We've got take it or leave it, of course, and I will give my final pick, 1, for the Saints at the Chargers, and 2, for LSU at Texas A&M. It is going to be a massive, massive showdown in College Station tomorrow night at 6:30, and that's where we start with your Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
We've gotten there. We've broken this game down by just about every angle here. We have certainly spent some time talking about LSU's newfound ground game that was very, very effective in Fayetteville, Arkansas. They've run the ball more in these hostile environments in South Carolina and Arkansas than they have in any other game this year. Garrett Nussmeier has been held under 300 yards passing in both of those games, but LSU's rushing attack has been very good, and LSU's been extremely efficient offensively in both of those games. Turnovers limited them in Columbia, but they were really good. Maybe some red zone issues in Fayetteville, but they've moved the football with the ground game on the road for sure. We've talked about LSU trying to stand up to Le'Veon Moss in this really good and productive Texas A&M ground game. We've talked about Connor Wigman being good one day, bad the next. We've talked about a lot in this game. And quite honestly, I will lead the show here, and we'll get to the pick 2 hours from now, and you'll see kind of where I finally fall in this game. But as I analyze this game, I do favor LSU on the football field. I think LSU's got a better team. I think they've got a better quarterback. I think the defense for LSU is making significant strides. I think that LSU is really good on the offensive line that may neutralize some of the strength that A&M has on the defensive line. Like, I like LSU on the field. But this game's not played in Baton Rouge. This game's not played in Miami. This game's in College Station. And I realize that LSU went into a hostile environment in South Carolina and won. And I realize they went into a hostile environment against Arkansas and won. But this one will be every bit that and more. We can make fun of Texas A&M's yell leaders all we want. You can make fun of the midnight yell practice and all the hokey stuff that they do, and that's all well and good. They still pack that place with 105,000 people, and it's loud. And it's going to be loud on Saturday. And that, I think, is the biggest advantage that Texas A&M has in this game. Now, we talked to Josh Williams and Garrett Nussmeier earlier this week, and I wanted to kind of hear about what they do pre-snap in these environments, because keep in mind, like, Garrett Nussmeier had never dealt with anything like this until Columbia, South Carolina. Yeah, high school football is fun, and Texas has a lot of fans relative to other high school football events, but I'm pretty sure crowd noise is not really an issue when you're the high school quarterback. And yeah, he went in there on the road against Alabama last year, but it was desperation time. Yeah, he played in the second half against Georgia in the SC championship game. That was kind of desperation time too. He had not seen a hostile road environment in the Southeastern Conference until South Carolina. This is kind of new to him. And I asked Josh Williams, what's Garrett like when you get into these environments that are really loud and he's the leader of your offense?
Garrett's very calm. He may move around a lot, but he's very calm, very collected. he doesn't really give us any doubt. At least me, I don't have any doubt when I'm on the field with Garrett. He's very loud, very demanding of the O-line. I like it. He gets us going out there. He gives us energy, and you can feel his energy on the field. He's not shying away. He's getting calls from the coaches. So I think he's a great leader. I think he's doing exactly what we need him to do, and I think he just needs to continue to lead us as a team.
He's clearly the alpha out there, and it's been interesting from afar. Obviously not at practice in the huddle, and obviously not on the field in the game, but from afar to kind of watch Garrett Nussmeier's evolution into that guy. Because when he got to LSU, he was a youthful, exuberant, fun-loving guy at practice. We would see some of the spring practices and early in fall camp. He was throwing touchdown passes. He'd be running down the field, going crazy, jumping up, screaming at people. He looked like a kid out there. And he has kind of morphed over his 3.5 years in Baton Rouge as to very much more of a mature, measured, steady presence. And Josh Williams used the word demanding with the offensive line. There's some authority that goes into that. It was all fun-loving right when he got to campus at LSU, and that's fine. He was the backup quarterback and probably wasn't going to play very much. But that personality has changed a little bit to the outside view, and I've been fascinated by it. So I asked Garrett Nussmeier, like, okay, what is pre-snap like now that you've been into two of these really loud environments?
It's definitely going to be loud, This is a loud stadium, but, it's just about communication, It's easy when you're at home and, fans are on your side, so nobody's making noise. You can easily communicate. And, on the road, it's just about, communication, just getting up, getting close to the tackles, making sure everybody hears, reiterating the calls to the back, things like that. And so I think that'll be huge for us this weekend is our communication, making sure that we're talking and getting things corrected the right way with communication.
They have done a good job of that as far as the communication goes. You don't see a lot of panic, a lot of guys unsure of where to be, arms being held out, motioning from one side of the line of scrimmage to another with wide receivers who are confused, the back changing side. Like, you haven't seen much of that against South Carolina or Arkansas. What you did see last week, obviously, were the pre-snap penalties. And we did ask Garrett Nussmeier about that on Tuesday, and he talked about how, yeah, we acknowledged it, but we're not going to freak out about it. It's not something that's cropped up every single week. I would push back a little bit on that. This is Hunt talking, because Will Campbell, it does seem like, has been flagged for an inordinate amount of false starts this year. But on Saturday, it was just inexcusable. And I gave you kind of my diatribe on that earlier in the week, where I said, look, loud is one thing. And if you are late getting off the ball because you don't hear it, or you miss an audible, or miss a protection, or somebody's in the wrong place because nobody can hear, I get that. That's the crowd very much being involved in making things difficult on you. What I don't understand is the consistent false starts. One, okay, yeah, you're getting a little antsy there, but 6 of them in the first half, that's just lack of focus and lack of discipline. That is not because the crowd is overwhelming you. LSU has got to clean that up. They were able, in the first half, to overcome those false starts. Caden Durham, on 2nd and goal from the 22, runs in for a touchdown. Like, you overcame your pre-snap penalties there. But you can't consistently lean on that. You've got to stay ahead of the chains against Texas A&M. Mike Elko is one of the best defensive minds in the Southeastern Conference, especially when it comes to third downs. And if you put yourself in third and distance and allow him to bring pressures and unleash Nick Scorton and all that kind of stuff, you're asking for a little bit of trouble. Once again, I will suggest I'm very confident in LSU's offensive line, snap in and snap out. I'm very confident in them in the course of 4 quarters against any front, including Texas A&M. South Carolina got home twice. They created a little bit of havoc in the backfield, sending pressure. Ole Miss didn't have as much success getting to Garrett Nussmeier, but I thought they covered really well in the back end, especially early in the game. But LSU, more often than not, is going to win that battle. It would surprise me a little bit if A&M has no sacks in this game, but I don't expect them to just overwhelm the LSU backfield, kind of like they did against Arkansas for a lot of that game and in some of the Missouri game as well. But you give them more opportunity to get back there and hurt you when you put yourself in less than advantageous situations, and you do that because you get into pre-snap penalties. Those have got to be cleaned up. At this point, it is absolutely reasonable to expect that Garrett Nussmeier is going to be able to pilot this offense in the noise in that environment. He's done it twice. He's a fourth-year college player. He might be the best quarterback in the Southeastern Conference. Like, he'll be okay. It's the rest of the guys that have to do their job. And if they do, and they don't get pre-snap penalties and put LSU behind the chains, and they do pick up some protections and give him a little bit of time, I think he'll go to work, and he'll do a really good job with that. But this is absolutely a factor. And once again, and we're going to get into a few more matchups in this game on today's show, and certainly get my pick at the end of the show. I favor LSU on the field a lot of different places, and I feel like the way I felt last week going into the Arkansas game, that LSU I just thought was better than Arkansas, and I picked LSU to win by 2 scores last week when a lot of people were going, this game's always close, it'll be close again. And I kind of pushed back on there, I don't think Arkansas is that good. This is that to an extent, not to the Arkansas extent, but I do believe that LSU is a better football team than A&M, but it would be foolish of me to dismiss Kyle Field, because guess what? I sat in this very seat on Friday 3 weeks ago. Actually, I didn't. That's not true. I was at Lod Cook for that game. I sat in the Lod Cook seat in the bar for LSU and Ole Miss, and I thought that Ole Miss had a better team than LSU. And I still may think that Ole Miss has a better team than LSU. I'm not convinced of that, but it's a possibility. But Tiger Stadium can't be dismissed, and it was not dismissed that night because it was unbelievable, and it absolutely had something to do with LSU winning the game. And A&M has that card in its back pocket on Saturday. So I think there's reason to look at it from both perspectives. So crowd noise is going to be a big issue coming up in Saturday's game. Preston Guy covers LSU for TigerBait.com. You can certainly find him on TigerBait on YouTube every single Monday. He's here every Friday. Now that we've gotten our Genesis opening drive out of the way, let's talk to Preston Guy coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. You can check out every car on the lot at genesisofbatonrouge.com. When you think Genesis of Baton Rouge, you should think luxury, because it is absolutely a luxury line of vehicles. From the ride, from the aesthetic, from the safety, but maybe not the price. If you hear luxury and you think, that's out of my league, just give them a shot. The odds are, if you're buying a car in Baton Rouge, you're going to spend some time on Airline Highway. There's a lot of dealerships with a lot of options right there on Airline. Well, Genesis of Baton Rouge is one of those. So stop on by, check out their fantastic line of vehicles, work with their sales ambassadors, and get yourself into a Genesis of Baton Rouge. Every single purchase there at Genesis of Baton Rouge comes with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. You can start that process online at genesisofbatonrouge.com, but stop on by Airline and PQ as well. It's genesisofbatonrouge.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Chugging along here, Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Looking for a late lunch? Get on by and see our friends at Corks on Government between Foster and Jefferson. I know one guy that's not going to have Corks for lunch because that's just not really in the cards at Disney World. That's Preston Guy, TigerBait.com, who is braving Disney with the family, but good enough to give us a little time to talk some football. Preston, how are we doing?
Man, I'm probably doing the best I've ever done for one of these calls.
That's good to hear. I saw there appeared to be a cocktail of sorts in that tweet. Are we committing an FCC violation here with blood alcohol content, or what's the deal?
Look, man, that's up to you and your radio standards, man. I mean, I never told you I was going to call in sober.
You did not, and that's true. So we'll just push off the dock and act like none of that ever happened. But there is documentation on Twitter, so we'll have to see. All right, how impressed were you with LSU at Arkansas on Saturday?
Oh, I was very impressed, Hunt. I mean, I thought it was going to be a dogfight. I thought Arkansas was a tough team, what Petrino and that offense can do. And, if it was like a one-off performance, like not clearly something where they're building on elements and improving rapidly, it's a direction of the team that I'm impressed with. If you had laid an egg against Ole Miss and you've been all over the place, I would just say that's just an inconsistent football team. But you've been steadily improving each and every week in a lot of areas. Caden Durham looked really good. That running game, I keep on telling everybody, having a consistent running game where you can run for, let's say 4.3 yards per carry like you did against Arkansas. that's the key to unlocking this offense from being good to great. And I think that they're kind of knocking on that door, especially considering, Caden Durham, they say he was 80 to 85% for that game. So I think that this offense is really coming close to turning the corner if not already have. I think pre-snap penalties and red zone execution is probably that last little cherry on top before you call this a great offense. But, yeah, no, I was very impressed with that. And, of course, Blake Baker and his defense, the job they've done just continues to be incredible. And they've got a hefty test against a very talented team in a rambunctious environment this week or tomorrow to take care of.
They certainly do. How much do they need to lean on that running game on the road? I noted this in my first segment, but they have they've run the ball more in the 2 true road games than they have in any of the other games.
Hunt, I feel like lean on is really a strong word. I feel like they need to have it. It has to be a component of this team, but I mean, their bread and butter is going to be the passing attack. That's just is what it is. Nussmeier looks like one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC. The receiving core, if they can be healthy, we'll see about C.J. Daniels and allegedly Chris Hilton, but that's their bread and butter is passing attack. I think they're going to need a consistent output from the running game, but lean on kind of implies like that's how you're moving the ball, right? I don't know. I think, can you give yourself 2nd and 6? Can you convert 3rd and 2? That's what you need to lean on your running game for. I don't think you're going to just move the ball. You're not going to do like Ole Miss in 2014 where you run the ball 9 times down the field for a game-winning touchdown on this team. You know what I mean? It's a little different.
And one of those against Arkansas, 11 runs on 13 plays to put that game on ice back on Saturday. But your point well taken. They got to passing is going to be the backbone.
To put the game on ice, right? But not like to put together the game-winning drive like in 2014.
Correct.
Ole Miss.
Yes.
They were down 7-3. That's wild to do that. But I give it a shame. Speaking of ice, I really don't want any slander this weekend as LSU's rocking the ice uni against Texas A&M blackout uni. It's a black ice game, and it is magnificent, Hunt, and I will not tolerate
It's an embarrassment to both football programs. It's an embarrassment to both football programs. A&M looks like lunatics, and LSU doesn't look any better. It's bad.
Well, isn't it an embarrassment when LSU basketball rolls out the all-white?
They don't. I mean, their basketball teams wear white uniforms.
Okay, so the football team does too now.
Unfortunately, yeah, they do. We're an alternative school. We're an alternative uniform school. That's what LSU has become. They're not any different than when Southeastern Louisiana wears all yellow baseball uniforms. That's what LSU's kind of reduced themselves to here. But that's fine. The kids like them. And look, I put a tweet out. Most people like them. I'm in the minority. Tradition and classic appeal have no place anymore in 2024. But I'll just have to move forward with it. How big a deal is C.J. Daniels when he's healthy?
Well, I think we saw against Ole Miss how big of a deal he was. Because remember, all those comeback routes that Nussmeier couldn't buy one of those. And that's kind of become the signature staple of this offense is that short or intermediate passing game. And Ole Miss was shutting it down. And then against Arkansas, you saw just how good C.J. Daniels was at those. And it was just invaluable to make those tough catches coming back. I think that's an element he adds. So I think he is very important. I don't think he's going to be, the difference between winning or losing a game. I mean, maybe in a tight game for sure, but I do think that, LSU has other receivers in place. There's things Chris Hilton does that other receivers can't do, such as like stretching the field, and that adds an element. Now, whether or not Nussmeier can actually hit him on a deep ball, we'll have to see because his deep ball, admittedly, has been off this year. It's been one of the very few disappointing aspects of his game this year, but everything else I'd say he's exceeded expectations a good bit, so I don't want to spend too much time on that. But, he's certainly a piece you want to have, and I think all you have to do is watch the film between Ole Miss and Arkansas, and you see, okay, that's where he's very valuable.
All right, let's flip things over to the defense. How big a deal is it that they held Arkansas to 10 points, and how much credit do you give them for that?
Very big deal. Do you think this defense a year ago was holding any SEC team to 10 points? Any SEC team with a pulse?
No.
Like that.
No FCS team with a pulse.
Yeah, I guess with the pulse is doing some heavy lifting there. But anyways, this defense, Hunt, I was looking for where they rank in scoring defense all of a sudden. And for the first time in over a year, I was able to look on the first page of the NCAA site that has, 50 per page. They're ranking 35th in scoring defense. And as they're getting into SEC teams and playing tougher games, they continue to improve. That's the crazy part to me. So, exceptional job for Blake Baker. And then you have to go take a look in Columbia, Missouri, and look at how that defense is taking a big step back. And you have to really think, man, they really did something with this hire here. And you have to be excited for what they're going to do once they get their guys in. Because right now they've got guys who were just non-factors last year. One of the points I made was Whit Weeks and Braden Swinson were both on the team last year playing for that historically bad defense. Now they look like All-American. Coaching matters, and that's what we're seeing with this unit.
Do you like their chances against Texas A&M's run game? The Aggies are gonna push that heavy.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be something tough to stop. At this point, though, I feel like LSU's ability to stop the run is probably a little bit stronger than its ability to stop the pass. It's going to provide some challenges, particularly A&M has a good offensive line. They got led by Chase DeSantis down there, who a lot of people forget LSU really wanted Chase DeSantis, man. And he's panning out really strongly for them. I think the challenge is going to be the offensive line more so than the skill guys, because I think talent-wise, this defensive line is playing way above its pay grade right now. And credit Kevin Peoples and Bo Davis with that. But we'll see how they can handle a truly smaller group of Texas A&M this weekend. That is what concerns me more so than the running backs themselves.
Well, you were on the Tower of Terror. A&M announced Chase DeSantis out this week with a high ankle sprain, so he will not play at left guard. It's going to be either true freshman or junior Cam Dewberry there at left.
Well, that helps a lot, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, I think that everyone suggested that was a pretty big deal. So, as far as Connor Wigman goes, what's your plan if you're Blake Baker? We've seen really good Connor Wigman against Missouri. Yeah. We've seen him be atrocious against Notre Dame and Mississippi State. What's your plan if you're Blake Baker?
It seems like you get two different players with Connor Wigman. You get good Connor, bad Connor, right? And number one, you hope bad Connor shows up, right? But when he's on, remember LSU 2 years ago went to Texas A&M, and Connor Wigman was just otherworldly good in that game, right? So, it's just one of those things where you got to really keep him in check and do not give him time to throw. Because I don't think it's ever been an issue of, does he have enough talent to sit back there and throw the ball accurately, right? He's a five-star guy, all the talent in the world. You see that. It's his decision-making under pressure and ability to identify open receivers where he's tended to struggle. So I think if you get after him with Braden Swinson and Whit Weeks and company and put some pressure, trust your guys in one-on-one coverage for the first time in a long time, you've got corners and safeties who are actually taking care of business when they're on an island. So take advantage of that. Put Zy Alexander out there and make him make a throw. Make him where if the ball's going to be complete, it's because he threw a perfect pass on a corner in coverage. You know what I mean? Do not let him get comfortable and sit back there and throw all day. That is my key.
All right, how do you think it goes on Saturday night? Do they get it done? Yeah,
I think LSU's the better team. I actually think LSU is the better team by a good bit based on how they're playing recently, both A&M and LSU. I looked at A&M's schedule overall, and of course the one game you look at where you're really impressed is Missouri, but I think that's more of a statement of how bad Missouri is. I'm not a huge believer in Texas A&M this year. I think LSU's a good bit better. However, this environment's a rough one. This is the second straight SEC road game for LSU. They're going to be 105,000. This is kind of their Super Bowl this weekend. So prepare for the worst. I think LSU does take care of business. I think LSU wins by about 7 points.
Enjoy the big mouse. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks, Preston.
All right, thanks for having me.
Preston Guy, TigerBait.com, every Monday on YouTube, over at TigerBait's YouTube channel. He's with us each and every Friday with the family over in Disney. I hope his credit card doesn't catch on fire. I've heard it can take a beating over there in Orlando. We still got plenty to do here on this Football Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Reminder, we are live and local all day, every Friday, starting at 7 a.m. with Off the Bench. The boys for Live at Lunch go an hour early, 10 to 1 o'clock from Rufino's. I'm right here at 1 to 3. Matt Moscona, usually from 3 to 6, and after further review, will be Matt Musso. Today is Matt's Swiftie wife, Erica, drug him to New Orleans to go check that out. But 3 to 6 AFR will be coming at you. And then coming up at 6 o'clock, Louisiana Prep Preview. Be Catholic High in Scotlandville about 6:45, 7 o'clock. And once that one goes final, Louisiana Prep Scoreboard with Cade Wasson and his cast of thousands right here in the Mercedes-Benz Baton Rouge studio. They will get you caught up on all the scores from around the state this evening. So every Friday from 7 o'clock in the morning until about midnight, we are live and local here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Take a time out when we come back, get you ready for the NFL slate on Sunday. It is the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
LaBerge, Baton Rouge. You got to make it your game day headquarters all season long. I was there last night for Thursday Night Football. Always a great time. Saints and LSU were out of town this week, so you don't have to go to a game. You can go to the sportsbook and watch all the games, dine and bet inside ESPN Bet at LaBerge. Plus, ask you to sign up for the Cover 5 SEC content. You go ahead and you download the Cover 5 app. Got the Pen Play app as well. You put the promo code in LABRSEC24, and you can compete against me and a ton of our other listeners as well. I'm in about 24th, so I'm in the top 25 percentile. Got to have a hot week this week. Give you my picks for the SEC games against the spread coming up later on today. If you're not a member, get the Pen Play app today. LaBerge, Baton Rouge, your live sports headquarters. You got to be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966 for help.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Friday shows brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. A lot of times I sit in this chair on Fridays and I see the panels that we have here in the Mercedes-Benz Baton Rouge studio, and I just get really, really hungry thinking about the Corks because I got crispy fried catfish on this. There's shoestring fries. They got the shrimp there, like coleslaw, the honey butter rolls. I'm like, God, I really could go for some Corks. I don't really feel that way today because we got Corks.
We did. It was great. Really, really good stuff.
What'd you have there, Beck?
I mean, I had some of the catfish, had some of the shrimp, had some of the fries, hush puppies. I had the whole spectrum, and it was all very good.
We got the big haul from Corks. You can check it out on the menu, corksfishandshrimp.com. I ate, Beck ate, Cassie ate.
Everybody. Taylor had some.
Taylor had some.
Yeah, everybody was involved.
T-Bob grazed some on the way out of here. It says feeds 4 to 5. That's a lot of people. It fed like 7, and there's still some out there.
There is.
The big haul, always a fantastic idea and affordable as well. So if you got some people coming over to the to watch the games this weekend, or if you just got like a Hester-sized family that's like just massively huge, just get the big haul that can feed a lot of mouths, and it is all fantastic over there at Corks on Government between Foster and Jefferson. We'll talk Saints and Chargers coming up here in 15 minutes. Got the attendance report up for practice at LouisianaSports.net. Ross Jackson was all over that today. So if you're looking for attendance report on the Saints, you can pull that up on your computer or your phone at the ready, but we'll talk about it a little bit coming up here in about 15 minutes. But right now, let's get you set for NFL Week 7? 8? I can't remember, but we're going to do it either way. Do we have the music?
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Sorry.
All right, Tier 4. This is the bad football. There's 3 games in Tier 4 this week that I'm just not too thrilled about. Ravens are at the Browns. The Ravens are really good. The Browns stink. However, there's one interesting matchup in this game. Derrick Henry leads the NFL in rushing to this point, and the Browns have not allowed a single back to go over 67 yards. The Browns made life tough on the Bengals and Joe Burrow last week, but they couldn't score. Now Deshaun Watson's out for the season. It is a little bit interesting to watch Derrick Henry run against this Browns defense, but the Ravens are going to win the game. The Titans are at the Lions. That's 5-1 versus 1-5. That puts you in Tier 4. Amon-Ra St. Brown needs 11 yards to become the Lions' second wide receiver ever to go over 4,000 yards in 4 years. The other one, of course, Calvin Johnson, one of the 2 all-time NFL greats to just quit right in the middle of his prime because he didn't want to play for the Lions anymore. The Jets are at the Patriots. This is Tier 4 because both these teams stink. Aaron Rodgers has thrown 6 interceptions in the last 3 games. That is the most in his career over any 3-game span. The Patriots don't win or cover. They're 0-5 against the spread in the last 5 games. That game is ugly. Tier 3, a little bit better here. The Cardinals are at the Dolphins. Will Tua return? That's the question. The Cardinals' defense is bad. They're 29th in the league in EPA per play. Could the Dolphin offense get going? They've been as bad as anybody in the league with Tua out. That's really the question there. The Packers are at the Jaguars. Jordan Love trying to become the 3rd Packers quarterback to have multiple touchdown passes in 10 straight games. He would, of course, join Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre there. If he does things the right way in Green Bay, he's going to join those guys on a lot of lists. He could coming up on Sunday. The Panthers are at the Broncos. Bryce Young versus Bo Nix. A little Iron Bowl there with NFL ties. Bryce Young's record as a starter is not very good. He is 2-16. A Panthers loss here would mean back-to-back 1-6 starts for what is now the worst franchise in the NFL. The Chiefs are at the Raiders. I don't like this game a ton either. The Chiefs are changing their MO a little bit. They're running for 129 yards per game. That's the highest total in the Andy Reid era. They've added DeAndre Hopkins. He's going to make his debut on Sunday. In what capacity, we'll see. He should help the passing game, but they've kind of become a run-the-ball defense kind of franchise, which is impressive considering their MO the last 5 years with Mahomes. Tier 2, this is where it starts to get real good. The Colts are at the Texans in an AFC South game. The Texans have only swept the Colts once in franchise history. The Colts are 4-0 against the spread as underdogs this year, and they are an underdog on the road in Houston. That should be a good one in the AFC South. The Bills are at the Seahawks. The Bills are only scoring 21 points per game on the road compared to 38 per game at home. Now, Amari Cooper only played 35% of the snaps for Buffalo last week. He should be integrated a little bit more, and that may help them on the road against Seattle. Cowboys are at the 49ers. That's Sunday Night Football. The last time that Dallas was out, they lost by 38 points to Detroit. Now, the 49ers are very hurt. I had Deebo Samuel out there last week in fantasy. He had pneumonia, didn't play. He's barely practiced. They got issues with health. Game's in San Francisco. We'll see how it goes. The Bears are at the Commanders. This was going to be the top 2 picks in the draft going at it, but we'll see if Jaden can play. Chicago has allowed 21 or less points in 12 straight games. That is impressive work by the Monsters of the Midway. Marcus Mariota will go if Jaden Daniels can't play. But the Bears' offense is quietly getting a little bit better. 31 points per game over the last 4 weeks with Caleb Williams calling the shots. That is Tier 2. And in Tier 1, the best 2 games of the weekend in my estimation. Philadelphia Eagles at the Bengals. Maybe a little Bengals bias here, but I think this is a quality game. Cincinnati's won back-to-back weeks, scoring 17 and 21. They have got to do a better job moving the football on offense. And then an NFC South game in Tier 1. The Falcons are at Tampa. No Mike Evans, no Godwin. Both those guys are out on the edges for the Bucs. The Falcons are 3-0 in the division. They could go to 4-0 in the division. They've only done that 3 times in their history. They're looking to sweep Tampa and secure that tiebreaker as well. However, last week, Atlanta did lose 34-14 at Seattle. So the NFC South lead on the line there in Tampa. I think that is in Tier 1. That is a look at your NFL slate coming up on Sunday. Beck, what you got your eye on there for the National Football League?
Man, I really,
Do you care about the other 2 NFC South teams playing?
I don't know. Maybe I probably should because
I feel like that's more of a college thing.
Yeah, it is. But it doesn't really matter who wins because you lost to the Bucs. You haven't played the Falcons yet. So,
but I feel like even if LSU's out of it, LSU fans want to watch the Iron Bowl.
Yeah,
I don't know if NFL fans feel quite the same. The Saints fans have got to lock in on Panthers.
Yeah.
If you're not immediately affected.
I think majority of Saints fans at this point now probably just want to see the Falcons lose because the Falcons you just hate the Falcons a lot and who cares what happens as long as they lose we're happy. But in terms of any games I'm watching, man, I think the Bills and Seahawks will be a really good one.
Yes.
Geno Smith he's had a better year than he's done a good amount of picks this year, but Seahawks have been better overall as a team. Kenneth Walker has been really good. And so that's a big game right there. But other than that,
am I allowed to proclaim the Bengals back if they beat Philly in Cincinnati on Sunday?
No.
Why? I want to.
I mean, yeah, I would want to as well, but it still doesn't mean they're back. I mean, it's a home game. They're 2.5 point favorites.
When do I get to proclaim them back? This would be their 3rd win in a row in the NFL. That's good.
Let's see what they do. Let's see if this is a good spot for them though, because if they can get this one, they got the Raiders next week. Should be a win.
That's in Vegas.
No, it's at home.
Oh, nice.
So they got 2 in a row at home, and then they got to go to the Ravens on the road, and that's when you're really gonna put the rubber to the road there. They
need to win. They need to win this week.
They do.
The next 2 at home.
They got to win the next 2 at home. Yeah. So that's a tough stretch.
Those Baltimore games are rough watches. I mean, as far as nerves go, they're just really high level games.
It's probably going to be like
Cincinnati
30 degrees
should
already.
have won that game. If I'm still upset with Zach Taylor.
Yeah.
All right, that's your look.
Maybe Dennis Allen will be the defensive coordinator next year for them.
Bengals.
Yeah.
Everybody loves Lou Anarumo. I think he's the greatest. He's been better the last 2 weeks.
But they also played the Giants and the Browns, so let's temper that.
Yeah, probably fair. All right, we'll talk Saints Chargers coming back next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Neil and Melissa have been running Boudreaux's Electrical for 40 years. Look, you need a generator. That's just the way it goes. We lose power in this part of the world a lot. We've got those powerful summer storms. We've got hurricanes. We even had an ice storm this year. And it's unpredictable as to when your power is going to be on, when it's going to be turned off. Well, you can prevent that and the uneasy feeling you've got when the hurricane's barreling towards South Louisiana. You can have the peace of mind if you just get a Generac home standby generator put in at your home. And every single Boudreaux's Electrical Generac generator comes with a 7 to 10 year warranty. Every single Generac generator from Boudreaux's Electrical is installed by a full-time Boudreaux's Electrical employee. And they're all monitored 24/7 so that they know at Boudreaux's Electrical if your generator is having mechanical issues. They can come out, they can fix it so that when you need it to spring into action, it's ready to roll. I give you the phone numbers every day. I'm going to give you the website at the end of it as well. Give them a call. Same number they had for 40 years down in the 985. It's 397-1562. 397-1562. But if you'd rather call a 225 number, they got you covered here in Gonzales. 225-393-89. If you're thinking, maybe I'm outside the area, if you're in South Louisiana, they can get to you at Boudreaux's Electrical Services. So give them a call or check them out online, boudreauxelectrical.com. That is boudreauxelectrical.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Red Keg Events and Mestizo Restaurant are celebrating their 25th anniversaries with the Metalachi Monster Mashup and Halloween Costume Contest. It's happening today at Manship Theater. Metalachi is the world's first and only heavy metal mariachi fusion band. Sounds interesting to me. And you can win free tickets and a Mestizo's gift card by showing us your best Halloween costume at 1045ESPN.com. It's the Metalachi Monster Mashup, October 25th at the Manship. Get all the details at 1045ESPN.com.
Man, I'm just looking over my SEC against the spread picks for the next segment.
Oh, yeah?
Woo! Could be another amazing week.
Staying hot?
Just staying hot. 5 picks. They just look amazing. Last time I said that, I went 1-5.
Yeah, the tough thing about 5 is, man, it's like you can go, if you go 3-2 or 4-1, it's not bad, but then you can also just go 1-4 and you don't have a lot of games to screw up.
Yeah. Well, look, I feel like I'm seeing the board. I mean, what is my record the last 3 weeks?
You've been seeing the board. You have been seeing the board the last 2 weeks. The week 6 does not count because that was the Costanza picks.
You said it did count because I made the picks.
Well, it does, but not in terms of how hot you are.
Well, either way, we're talking 14-4-1 over the last 3 weeks.
That Auburn game, or not for that Auburn game, you'd have been 15-3 easily.
Yeah,
should have covered there.
I should have. I've been riding Auburn. And I feel like they've been bucking me a little bit, but we'll see.
You've been riding State though, and they've been. They've
been good. We'll see what we do. We'll see what we do coming up in the next segment. We do need to talk Saints and Chargers. The Saints are very much getting healthier. You're going to get Cesar Ruiz and Lucas Patrick back this week. You're going to get Taysom Hill back this week. You're going to get Chris Olave back this week. You're going to get Pete Werner back this week. So a lot of very good news for the Saints on that front. I'm not sure just how much Marquez Valdez-Scantling can help you this quickly, but he's certainly been added to the roster here. So you have a fighting chance offensively, but I don't believe the offense is the story here. You've still got a backup quarterback out there. They should be better than they were last week, but the Chargers are pretty good on defense. You're on the road. I'm not expecting a world out of the offense. The Saints defense need to decide if they're going to let this entire season tank or if they're going to show a backbone. And to this point, over the last 3 weeks, they have not shown a backbone. They have not. And this is going to be a challenge to the front seven from the start to the finish because Jim Harbaugh and the Los Angeles Chargers run the ball more than any team in the NFL. They want to pound away. And the Saints right now are as bad a run defense as there is in the National Football League. That comes from me watching the Saints. That also comes from me looking at these advanced analytics that ESPN's posted. The Saints are allowing 4.9 expected yards per carry. That's according to Next Gen Stats. That's second worst in the NFL behind only Washington. You don't have to know how to calculate expected yards per carry, because I certainly don't, but averaging 5 yards per carry is atrocious in the National Football League if you're a defense. Awful. And that's what's happening to this Saints team. It is no secret. You don't have to guess. We're not hypothesizing. We're not making inferences based on context clues. It's just a fact. The Chargers are going to turn around and hand the ball off to J.K. Dobbins a ton. And if Brian Brzee and Cam Jordan and Carl Granderson and Chase Young and Demario Davis and Pete Werner don't want to get in there and stand their ground for 4 quarters, they're going to get embarrassed again. That's just the way it is. And they have been embarrassed the last 2 weeks. Run defense. That's the deal here. You've taken what was the backbone of your franchise on the defensive side, run stopping, and it has cratered. Is that because they're disheartened by the offense's inability to move the ball? Is that because there have been a couple of bumps and bruises? Is that because they're getting old? I don't know. You can't fix the old part. You can fix the effort part. And there have been so many glaring missed tackles over what's basically amounted to the last month that you're going to hear people questioning effort. I'm usually last to do that, and I'm not ready to do it yet. I heard Matt do it earlier this week. I heard Charles Hannegriff do it this week, and it's certainly not out of bounds. I'm not quite there. That's the last thing I go to. But you've got to do a better job of stopping the run in this game. If you do not, Los Angeles will not stop. That is Jim Harbaugh's DNA. He built a Super Bowl contender out of the San Francisco 49ers doing it. He built a national championship program at Michigan doing it, and that will be his very much intent in Los Angeles as long as he's there. Yeah, Justin Herbert's got a huge arm, and he's a good athlete, and that's a shiny toy that you would think a former quarterback would want to use. Turn around, hand it off, run. And you look at the last 3 weeks, you look at what Denver did, you look at what Tampa did. If you don't show up with a little bit of pride on Sunday, it's going to be tough. And it'll likely signal the end of the season. I think there are a lot that have already given up. Mathematically, you can still find it if you can get healthy and win a lot of games, but I'm not going to sit here and bang that drum. We can talk about the offense. I think it should look better. Looking at a Chargers defense that is good, but I think you've got more options to try to hurt them than you did last week. When you go out there and you don't have your entire interior offensive line, you don't have your top 2 wide receivers, you don't have your gadget playmaker, and you've got a backup quarterback who's a rookie making his first start, you just don't have the ingredients to have success. There's not a play caller, not a coach, not an environment that's going to go very well in the NFL. Some of that is alleviated here because you've got 2 of your interior offensive linemen back, you've got your top receiver back, you've got your gadget guy back that should help in the running game and a little bit of the passing game and just a little bit of, Taysom Hill can help you in a lot of different ways. And they need to get Juwan Johnson involved as a pass catcher. That's something that hasn't happened enough this year. I think it'll look better offensively on Sunday. How good, that's tough to know. And so if the Saints want to go there and win, you can't ask that offense to go score 30 points on the road. Not with a rookie quarterback. He looks talented out there. He looks like he has some tools, but he's not ready to consistently lead drives, to not turn the ball over at all. I know that's what they're going to tell him, but he's just not ready to do that. The defense is going to have to keep the Saints in this game, and we said that the last couple of weeks, and they just flat failed. That's where you are right now. And if you lose this game by 20 or more points, then that'll be the first time you've lost 3 straight by 20 since 2001. And when you go back pre-Katrina with this franchise, I think most of you know what we're talking about here. We're talking about complete and total ineptitude for decades. And you would be bordering on that if you go out there and get smoked by the Chargers. Again, weeks 15 through 17 in 2001. The only time this franchise has ever lost 3 straight games by 20 points. That's what's on the line on Sunday. I'll give you my pick coming up at the end of the show. You can always find our Saints coverage over at Hunt on Saints on YouTube. Subscribe up to the channel if you want your Saints news daily there on our YouTube feed. Beck, you've heard kind of me break this down. I'm just curious if the Saints defense has a backbone. Are you prepared to watch that on Sunday?
I guess I am. I do. Obviously, the biggest thing in this game is J.K. Dobbins. Are you going to be able to not stop him, but can you slow him down? I mean, he's averaged 5 yards a carry this season. He's been really good. And last week they played the Cardinals. They had to throw the ball a lot because it was pretty close, and the Cardinals were up a little bit in that game. So if somehow the Saints can maybe get an early lead and make the Chargers have to throw the ball a bit more, that the back end for the Saints hasn't been great the last few weeks. None of the defense has, but you would think that the back end's a little bit better. Obviously, they lost Paulson and Debo, but they're getting healthy. I mean, the practice report just came out. The only people that are out are Saldiveri and Cedric Wilson. Carr is downful, so he's probably not going to play. He's not going to play. But you've got a lot of people back, and now the excuses are kind of gone there. I mean, obviously, not even Derek Carr's big, but still, man, the Chargers have not looked great this whole year. Their offense has not been good in any games, really. They haven't really scored a lot of points.
They just run the ball.
So that's going to be it, man. You got to bow your neck, and Demario Davis, P. Warner, those guys have got to play really well and hold them to something under 150 yards at least rushing, if not less.
You catch a small break. It's a long week for you. It's a short week for them. We'll see if the New Orleans Saints can make it happen coming up on Sunday. We'll step aside for Sports Center. When we come back, my SEC picks against the number. Thanks for hanging out with us. It's a Football Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show presented by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish, and Shrimp.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com is the website. Nothing more important than the security and safety of your home and your family. And for us in the Palmer House, we've trusted Audio Video Security Solutions to do that. My wife and I called Mitchell Fisher, said, hey, we want to put in cameras in the new house. He was over the next afternoon. We talked about what we were looking for. He saw where the location would be best to put the cameras and to put the sensors on the windows and the doors for the burglar alarm. And the next day they were there to install it. And all of a sudden now we've got the ability to set our burglar alarm and disarm it remotely. We've got the ability to check the cameras 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We can pause, we can zoom in. It's a crystal clear picture, and we don't pay any cloud storage fees for any of that. The customer service has been fantastic. Highly suggest you give Mitchell Fisher a call. Here's his cell phone, 225, it's 439-7920, 439-7920. He's the boss there. It's Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com.